This is a 2013 Mercedes C300. We're doing front pads and rotors. We're gonna start off by removing the anti-rattle clip that's located here. So just pry on it and it'll pop out. That's that. Next, we're gonna remove the set screw that holds the rotor to the hub. Place the screwdriver in the vent of the rotor to hold the rotor from turning when you're trying to remove it. Now use a T30 Torx with a 3/8 ratchet and just remove that. Once that's removed, you can go ahead and remove the sensor that's connected to the pad. It is located right here. This is the connector. We're going to remove that just by pulling on it, and then this will come out with the pad afterwards. Next, we're going to remove the brake caliper, removing this 13mm bolt and that 13mm bolt. Next, we're going to remove the caliper. Use a pry bar, go under here, and just pry it out of place, just like so. Next, you want to get a bungee cord, go around the strut or the spring, and just try to find a spot where you can hook the caliper from. You just don't want to let it hang and damage the sensor or the wire and the flex hose. Next, we're going to remove the brake pads from the caliper and just push on it from here and it'll pop out. And the other one needs a little bit of a tap, and that's out. Next, we're going to remove the brake caliper bracket using an 18mm socket and removing this bolt and that bolt there. There's the bracket. Next, we're going to remove the rotor just to be safe and not drop the rotor. We're going to put one of the studs back, just a couple turns. And then we're going to hit the face of the rotor. Next, we're gonna compress the caliper piston back into place. Use a big pair of channel locks and just squeeze it back. Once it bottoms out, it's all the way back. Next, we're gonna remove the caliper guide pins to lubricate them. Simply press it down and just push it all the way out. There's a guide, and there's another one up here, which you're gonna have to do the same thing too. Once it's removed, wipe it clean and apply a little bit of silicone lubricant. Apply it evenly all around. Once that's applied, you can reinstall it into the caliper in here. Just push it in all the way. Make sure the boot is seated around it properly. Make sure it moves freely and you're good to go. Next, we're going to clean the caliper bracket where the pads sit. You can see where they were touching here and here, also here and there. I'm just going to use a little bit of sandpaper and cleaning that surface. Once it's cleaned out with the sandpaper, just use a little bit of brake cleaner just to remove any dust. Use a rag and just wipe them clean. Next, you want to lubricate the 4 points where the pads sit. Use a little bit of copper anti-seize or any other kind of lubricant. Just apply a little bit on each corner. Now on the other side of the caliper bracket, we need to lubricate where the anti-rattle clip sits. So just wipe it clean with the rag and get a little bit of anti-seize or lubricant and apply, and as well here. Next, we're going to clean the mating surface between the hub and the rotor, which is this surface here. I'm going to use a grinder and a sanding disc. Next, we're going to clean the surface after it's all cleaned out with a sanding disc. Just use a little bit of brake cleaner and wipe it dry. Once that's cleaned out, we're going to go ahead and use a little bit of anti-seize and apply it to the face of the hub. Next, we're gonna install the rotor. Take note of this set screw hole here has to line up with the set screw threads here. Slide the rotor on. Make sure they're lined up. And just tighten up the set screw by hand for now. Next, we're gonna install the caliper bracket back into place. Snug the bolts down. And now that's that. Next, take the inboard pad and the new sensor, and we're gonna install it into the pad. Once it's lined up with the hole, just push it into place until it snaps in. Next, we're gonna install the inboard pad. Take note of the sensor. Make sure it goes through this opening here on the caliper so we can plug it in later on. Once that's in, squeeze the pad into place. Now take the outboard pad. Just make sure that this lines up with the caliper, just like so. Once it's seated flush, then you know it's in place. Now you're going to take the caliper and install it on to the vehicle. Just like that. Next, we're going to, after reinstalling the caliper, we're going to retighten the caliper bolts to 13 mils using a wrench. Next, we're going to reinstall the anti-rattle clip. Make sure it's placed on the two surfaces here, and it goes under this. Squeeze it by hand as much as possible, and use a screwdriver to line it up. Once it snaps back into place, that's all it needs. Next, we're going to tighten the set screw. Get the screwdriver, place it into one of the vents, hold it in place using the T30 screw. Just going to snug it up, not too tight. Just like so. Once that's complete, the last thing we need to do is plug in the sensor and just push it into place like so. And now the brake job is complete. Once the brakes are completed, make sure to pump the pedal a few times, and then under the hood you need to check the brake fluid level, make sure it's at the max. If it needs to be topped up, use .4 brake fluid only.